I was told as a small child in grade 1 that I was an artist. Then as the years went on, I didn't have the chance to pursue it. Every once in a while I thought, okay, I'll go back to it. And 1988, I was here at the Ottawa School of Art and I took a sculpting class. I just enjoyed it so much. And I kept saying to myself, I'm going to come back. Well, it took another 35 years for me to come back. But in returning, it's now I feel like I can really call myself an artist.
Welcome to the OSA Fine Arts Diploma podcast. We are recording at the Ottawa School of Art in May 2026 during graduation season. I'm Adrian Gore, Diploma Coordinator of the Fine Arts Diploma Program, a 3-year vocational program focused on preparing emerging artists within the Canadian cultural context. Today I'm speaking with Alice Green-Waldert, who is graduating this year.
Hello.
How would you describe your practice to someone who has never seen your work?
Well, I'm primarily a painter, figurative painter, but also I do landscapes. With oils and also with acrylics.
What has your experience at OSA been like overall?
Oh, it's been wonderful. I've met so many people my age, people younger than me, people older than me, and it's great to be in an environment where everyone has an interest in creating art.
What are you presenting in the graduation exhibition?
I'm going to be presenting first of all, 3 major art pieces. 2 of them are paintings in oils of my father. And then another one is a cyanotype print, which is of an arm that I drew the arm originally in my second year drawing class. And then I used it to put cyano pictures on it, and that's the main. Those are the main ones. And then I'm also submitting landscape paintings of water scenes to do with boating and cottages. I'm a poet. I've had more than several poems published, and I wanted initially to create paintings that reflected the main characters in my poems. So that's how I ended up painting many canvases with paintings of my brother, my mother, and a lot of my father. For some reason, when you go between the art of writing poetry to the art of creating a visual art, sometimes there's something more that is said through the visual piece than what can actually be contained within the poetry itself. And so I've been quite enthusiastic about wanting to pursue doing more paintings that can be connected with my poetry.
Are you suggesting that you express yourself at a deeper level, at the visual level, than through words? How do you see that difference?
Well, certainly through verbal poetry, I can express some very deep thoughts. However, there's a visual component, a memory that somehow materializes almost unconsciously in the painting. When you go into the zone of creating a piece of work, you just go with. There's a certain memory muscle that comes into play. There's a memory muscle to do with poetry, but it becomes visible in the art of creating a painting.
And when it becomes visible, what does that mean? What changes?
Well, for example, I did a painting of my father wearing what looks like a Russian hat and a Russian jacket. And for some reason, for years, I really wanted to do this picture. And my father was very affected at the end of World War II when the Russians took over his estate, where his family had been for 700 years. And by putting him in Russian garb, I combined something in the visual piece that I had never thought about, to do with, that somehow, even when I remember him, I remember him physically, but I don't remember him, as being Russian. But by putting Russian-looking clothes on him, it's like I added to his aura of how much it was affecting his personality.
So your work is personal, yet is connected to history.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the combination of a historical memory of what happened to an individual comes to the forefront, and it leads people to, when they don't know anything about my father, but they see him in this particular painting, they can sense, there's a certain harshness, and that he's coming from another culture.
Do you think your work is trying to attract viewers, disturb them, challenge them?
I think my work is trying to make people feel and sense something, trigger something in the mind at a deeper level, whether it's conscious or unconscious, that they have some sort of a visceral reaction to it.
And I find it's fascinating how the personal is combined with common history. I assume you're making references to the traumas of war here. How do you see that coming through in your work? How do you put the composition together to express something so complex?
Well, the time period that my father lived through World War II as a child, and then as a teenager in the Russian forced labor camp, it was so harsh and so bereft of humanity. And we don't realize, as individuals, we carry all of our history with us. Whether we may think that it's not noticeable, but it's in our characters. And I want people to have the experience. I'm more concerned about, I don't necessarily even want the person to necessarily think, oh, that's just historical. No, and it's an experience of another person and the vibe that they get from the.
But how much of this experience is for you educational? Like, you like the viewer to learn about something, but you can also invite the viewer to experience something, let's say, beautiful, or something, a new type of visual that will trigger a mood. So how do you find the balance between that, like experiencing something that's aesthetically pleasing, but also educational at the same time, because you do invite the viewer to reflect on our history, right?
I actually, in the painting of my father, I have roses, for example, that go along the side of the canvas. And I put them there because my father loved roses. And that connection had to do with his family, the roses that my grandmother and my great-grandmother grew in the gardens where they lived. And by bringing the visual, then I'm sharing that history with all the viewers. And from an aesthetic standpoint, it's to say, this is where the beauty was in his life.
Yeah, you're making a good use of symbolism too. How has critique shaped your practice in the program?
Critique? Oh, critique has been very important for me because, when you sit with a group of other artists and they can point to where things work and move smoothly through, for the eye to go around on the canvas, then they're telling you that, you achieved a certain a style of being able to help the viewer to how to look at the painting, just simply because where the eye lands and how the eye moves around the canvas. And then with critiques, it's been absolutely incredibly important to identify where weaknesses are, where things can be improved, how things can be improved. And when you're with a group of people that you're with for many months, they can see the progression of how you've moved from one stage to another. It's very helpful.
What does being an artist mean to you right now?
I was told as a small child in grade 1 that I was an artist. Then as the years went on, I didn't have the chance to pursue it. Every once in a while I thought, okay, I'll go back to it. And 1988, I was here at the Ottawa School of Art and I took a sculpting class. I just enjoyed it so much. And I kept saying to myself, I'm going to come back. Well, it took another 35 years for me to come back. But in returning, it's now I feel like I can really call myself an artist. I was a burgeoning or identified as potentially being an artist as a grade 1 student, maybe. I think that would be the more appropriate way of describing me at that point. But now that I've learned as much as I have over the years here and acquired different skills and techniques, I feel much more of an artist now.
What are the realities of trying to become a professional artist in Canada?
I can say that, thank God for the business of art class that I did. That really helped me to understand the different avenues to go down to acquire more experience and to acquire how to get support to begin to actually become more professional artists. How to circulate within the artist world that I didn't know about. Yeah.
And do you plan on selling your work after graduating? Are you going to focus on the commercial side of art, or how do you perceive this practice of being a professional artist? Are you planning to rent a studio? There are many ways of doing this. So what are your plans on this?
Well, a part of me wants to do both, actually, both the commercial and the other. But I feel I have something to say, and I have the skills now to say it. And so I hope to have some of my artwork put in galleries and exhibit and show a group of works. And at the same time, there's certain images that I'd like to create that may be considered more commercial, but my heart is in creating things that give a new perspective or an expansion on other perspectives from before.
So are there projects, exhibitions, or plans you want to share?
One of my plans is to have another exhibit of my family paintings. They're all figurative. So I started with a small group, but I wanted to expand on that. And since I also have right now, I'm working with a restaurant on Bank Street, and the owner is agreeing to do an exhibition of my artwork of because it's a seafood restaurant. It's an exhibit of boats and things to do with the water. Yeah.
What advice would you give to incoming OSA students?
Initially, when I found out that I had to, the first core courses to take in the first year were a combination of drawing and print, and there was photography as a possibility. I would say, don't be afraid of doing something completely different from what you initially started out thinking that you were just going to focus on. Expand your horizons and try different things in that first year, because it really helps to grow your sense of what's possible.
Thank you for joining me, Alice, and congratulations on graduating from the OSA Fine Arts Diploma Program.
Thank you for having me.